Let us now proceed and check out first what is array list in Java. Now remember, the array list is basically the sequential collection of objects. So within the IntelliJ IDE, let us first clean up our code. And at the bottom as well, let us remove all the code. And now I will define some properties of the array list. And now our next step will be to create the object of our array list. So for that, let us use new keyword followed by array list, like this. Now here it shows some error. So let us press Alt plus Enter, and there we go, it has simply imported the package within which we find the ArrayList class. So the ArrayList class belongs to java.util package. Now since we have created the object, so what we can do is we can simply assign it to the parent class reference variable, as we all know from our previous tutorial. I will now create list followed by, let's call it list of names, so names list. Now here again it is showing some error. Let us press Alt Enter and import it from the java.util package again. Select this option and there we go, java.util.list. And now let us assign it to the parent class reference variable. And now if you are feeling confused why we are using the reference variable of our interface here and making it point to the object of ArrayList. So let me recall the concept of interface from our previous topic. So in the topic of interface, I cited the example of remote interface pointing to the object of television, right? So with the help of remote interface, you were able to control the behavior of the television. Or in simple words, you can say the television object is interacting with the outside world with the help of remote interface. So here again we have the class of ArrayList that implements the interface of list. So that is why, similar to the remote and television analogy, we have list and ArrayList in front of you. So let us now remove this comment. And now whenever you define a list in Java, you need to define what type of list that we want to create. That is, suppose we are creating the names list, so our list will contain all the string objects. So here I will define string as a parameter. Now in place of string, you can also contain the box type values such as integer or let's say box type float. Now notice here that we are using capital F, right, like this, or the boolean and so on. Even you can create the list of, let's say, employee class objects or list of dogs, something like that. But remember, all the parameters should be a class. It should never be a primitive type of data. So it should never be small int or small char or small float. This is actually not allowed in the collection framework. It should always be a class. Remember this. So here is our first property. They can only store objects. And they cannot store the primitive data type, that is, you cannot store int, float, char, boolean and so on, like that. Now one more thing to note here is that here I have defined class ArrayList implements the interface of list. Now internally in Java it does not happen. Just for the sake of simplicity, I have used ArrayList implements list. There is one more layer of abstraction in between the ArrayList and list. But for now, just remember the ArrayList indirectly implements the list interface. So that is why we are using list of string followed by name and then the object of ArrayList, like this. Now how to insert elements into our ArrayList? So for that we have this syntax, nameslist dot use the add method and then define your first name. Let's call it Sam. And now nameslist dot add, let us add another name, Rahul. Nameslist.add Mohit. So within our array list, we have dynamically added the three names. Now let us check out our next property. The elements are present in sequence, that is, they are all indexed similar to the array. Index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on till end, right, like this. So the Sam will contain the index of 0. Rahul will contain the index of 1 and so on, it will contain the index of 2. Now in ArrayList you can add as many elements as you want to. So I will add new element such as add method and then pass Tony. So since we have added a new element, so it will again get an index of, let's say, 3. So if you notice, all the elements are present in sequence starting from 0, 1, 2 and 3 and so on. And now how do we extract data from our list? So for that again we have a method such as nameslist dot get the element at a particular index, right? Suppose I want to get the element of Mohit, so I will use the index of 2. So here I will use 2 and then print out. So let us now run the code. So there we go, Mohit in the output console. Now what if I want to print all the elements present within the list? So for that again we need to write our code inside the for each loop. We can also use the primitive for, let's say, int I equal to 0, I smaller than length of the list and the counter variable. Now as we all know from the tutorials of array, we can simply use the for each loop. That is actually the advanced form of for loop. So for that let us use the syntax. Let's call it string because our elements are actually string, right? String name, extract the name from the names list in each of the iteration, right? And then we are simply going to print out the names by using system.out.print name like this. So here let me comment this statement and now let us run the code. And there we go, Sam, Rahul, Mohit and Tony. They are all the content of our list. And notice here that they are all printed in the sequence, that is from index 0, 1, 2 and 3 like that. And now let us check out our last property. It can actually contain the duplicate elements. So whatever objects that you create, you can add it again and again. As for example, nameslist dot let's say add, you can add Sam again. There is no harm in that. And it will again get the index of, let's say, 4. So you can add as many objects as you want to. May it be the duplicate element also. So here let me remove it. And let us now continue our discussion from the next video.